Here, good evening, good morning, depending on where you are. Not that it matters. It's all now, time zones blurring into one past several months. Delighted to be here on behalf of the Indo-Canadian Business Chamber and supporting this wonderful initiative. Very timely in the sense of the changes that we are seeing in the external business environment, and therefore the need for new technologies and therefore new ideas coming through the startup ecosystem. The timing couldn't be better. So I'm delighted that we are doing this roadshow series. And again, on behalf of the Indo-Canadian Business Chamber, we feel privileged to be supporting and partnering with the organizers. I will let the three panelists introduce themselves as they speak. But I just want to say that at the chamber, we have a vast cross section of members, and any of the people on today's session would like to have some more information, they can get in touch with us or through our website. With that, I will jump right into the session. In the interest of time, we have three excellent panelists with me, Mariam, Sophie, and Sudhiranjan. And I'm going to start, Mariam, right away with you. Maybe you can tell us a little bit about yourself, your experience with startups in LATAM, and the segue that you provide for them into Canada. So over to you, Mariam.
Sure. Thank you so much for the invitation, and thank you for the organizers of South Sound Roadshow. My name is Miriam Lazarte. I'm the CEO of LATAM Startups. LATAM Startups is an organization as basically act as an accelerator in Toronto. We are supported by the City of Toronto, and we are a part of the Startup Visa program, which is the program that gives permanent residence for international startups to come to Canada and grow their business globally. So our mission basically is 100%, supporting international startups to come to the country. So far, in the last 4 years, we have been working with Latin America, but as well with many startups around the world, including India. So thank you so much for having me here.
Sure, thank you very much. And we'll go into more details, Mariam, about what your organization and how you support startups building the bridge, and what has been your experience. But let me go right over to Sophie. And Sophie, you represent the Ottawa region. This is the national capital region of Canada. We all know that it is a real high-tech hub in Canada with a great history of number of startups coming back from the days when Nortel and some of the other companies were thriving, and out of that, many entrepreneurs successfully took up various new ideas forward. So the Ottawa Kanata region is in that sense well known. So tell us, Sophie, about what's new and exciting in the national capital region, except of course we all know that it is snow time and you must be skiing on the Rideau Canal. But what else is happening in Ottawa in the area of startups and high tech?
Thank you. Thank you for the invitation for us to come to join this panel as well. Invest Ottawa is the national is the economic development agency based in the national capital region. You seem to know Ottawa very well based on its strength in the tax base. The good thing is Ottawa continues to lead the innovation in the country as the national innovation capital. So we are not just political capital, but we continue to be the leaders in innovation as the innovation capital of Canada. Like you mentioned, we were the headquarters of Nortel, but all the assets and the talent and engineers, the entrepreneurship, all stay in the city and continue to grow. And today's Ottawa is even doing more to lead a lot of areas in technology development in Canada. One of the most exciting one is the one we recently launched called Area X.0. which is the National Center for Smart City and Connected Autonomous Vehicle Testing Center, which is right located in the National Capital Region and directly owned and run by Invest Outwa. So we operate directly at that center as an economic development agency, and we continue work with all the 2,000 technology companies based in the region from several leading sectors, including communication technology sector, life sciences sector, software industries, and also defense, security, aerospace, clean tech, digital media. These are all the leading sectors in our region. On top of that, we are also developing cutting-edge technologies in the area I just mentioned, like autonomous vehicle, AI, IoT, all these cool technologies. So we are actually very excited to join the panel today to share more later.
Sure. Thank you, Sophie, and we'll come back to you for more. Sudhiranjan, you are in Delhi. You represent the province of Alberta in India. We of course know Alberta as a great oil and gas energy powerhouse. We also know Alberta as a great tourist destination thanks to the Rockies. But obviously, there is a lot of work happening in Alberta in the high tech area, and just given the dynamism of the province and the people, there is also a great startup ecosystem. You want to take us through that, Sudhiranjan?
Sure. Thanks, Apurv. The first and foremost, I would like to thank Ajay, Mitali, and Gaurav from Startup Ruzo for inviting us, and thankfully Alberta is a partner to this important initiative, which is Startup Gateway to Canada. So yeah, I mean, let me talk a little bit about Alberta first, and so a lot of people may not be aware about Alberta as a province because generally the talk kind of veers around Ontario and BC. So I'm going to take a little bit of this opportunity to talk a little bit about Alberta. So we are a Western Canadian province, and as you very correctly pointed out, we are the leaders when it comes to energy and particularly oil, because Alberta has the third largest proven reserves of oil in the world. But in addition to that, we've also had or continue to have a robust agriculture sector, and a lot of commodities like wheat, flax, oat, and things of that sort are grown in the province. It's a prairie province. And in addition to that, of course, we have the standard edible oils and the processed foods and the gourmet foods. This is something that, and as you correctly said, it's a tourist destination. I mean, everybody knows about Banff and the national parks and things of that sort. But a lot of things that are not said about Alberta is that Alberta is also home to the Alberta Machine Intelligence Institute, which is part of the Pan-Canadian AI strategy. And the University of Alberta is also again housed in Edmonton. And the University of Alberta, together with the Alberta Machine Intelligence Institute, do a lot of path-breaking work on the AI side. Now, in terms of AI, again, AI is not related to a sector really, as we heard Dr. Hein talk about some of the sectors. So typically, if you look at Alberta's innovation ecosystem, you will see that AI is pretty much embedded in a lot of the historical sectors that we've worked on. For example, energy, in terms of oil, in terms of mining, you will see that AI is embedded there. Again, if I talk about agriculture, AI is even embedded in agriculture. So there's a number of startups which are working on the agriculture front, looking at things like supply chains, looking at the purity of the contents and things of that sort. In addition to that, of course, we also have a number of companies working on geospatial imaging, geosciences engineering. Now, geospatial imaging, geosciences engineering becomes really, really relevant in the context of Alberta because obviously it's an oil-rich province. And to be able to pinpoint and understand where you will find your resources, because you're going to spend billions of dollars trying to kind of dig into a place and find oil. So again, geospatial engineering, geosciences, typically very big, and artificial intelligence plays a big role on that particular front as well. Apart from that, big data, cybersecurity, machine learning, of course, I've spoken about, but also blockchain technology. Calgary is supposed to be the next hub for blockchain technology. So if you look at Alberta as a province, both Edmonton and Calgary, the two big cities in Alberta, have a very, very robust ecosystem. And you will see that most of the new technologies are being used to a very, very great extent for plugging these technologies into various sectors, starting from oil and gas to fintech to agriculture to defense and aerospace, transport, cybersecurity, you name it, and we have a startup working in that particular area.
Great, thank you. And again, we'll want to hear more about how India can fit into this wonderful description that you've given. But going back to you, Mariam, can you tell us a little bit about your experience with startups from LATAM, and maybe share some insights, some guidance that you could provide based on your experience?
Yeah, so it has been an interesting job that we have been doing in the last years, bringing international startups to the country. We have certainly, a number of startups that are really very talented. They are coming to, a country that is open arms for, new immigrants, new Canadians that are coming to this country and are contributing to the second largest tech corridor in the world that we have here. So those international startups usually are technology companies that basically are already growing in sales and funding in their own home countries, and basically they are taking Canada as a next step to go to global markets. All of them are coming with intellectual property. They are coming also, to get access not just to, of course, the Canadian market, but the US market, Europe, and Asia. So Canada really, has become one of the most important gateways for international startups, especially right now, because of the, let's say, regional situation we have in North America. Canada is bringing great opportunities for international startups to relocate, maybe have second headquarters here, and have great opportunities to access one of the most fabulous ecosystem and strong ecosystems we have. As you probably, all of you have seen in the different videos, and the keynote speaker, he talked about the different technologies we have in the different regions in Canada. Of course, Ontario, Alberta, British Columbia, Quebec, all of us have very strong straits, and it will depend where startups, would like to locate in order to grow faster, maybe to have resources that will make them competitive. But at this point, we have startups located in different incubators and accelerators, not just in Ontario, but also in other provinces, in Canada. So I think we so far have been successfully integrating startups to the ecosystem. Since 2017, we have been working with over 100 startups that have been a part of the programs. But they are very talented people, and we are very happy to work with them.
Sure. Thank you, Mariam. Let me stay with you because you brought out some very good points. And if I'd please ask you to expand on, what the startups have been able to do once they come to Canada. What is the soft landing that they can find, and what has been their experience scaling up, Mariam?
Yeah, so it has been challenging because for any international startups entering to North America, I will say this in between US and Canada, they have to kind of pivot their business a lot. Let's say sometimes coming from, emerging markets, coming to a mature market, they have to really focus in a vertical in order to be successful in a country like Canada. So they have been able to secure investment, to secure grants, to secure a permanent residence for some of them. So that gives them, a little bit of stability to grow their companies. So probably you guys know, for example, here in Toronto, we have the #1 business incubator rank, as part of the university. They are the #1 in the world. We have the #1 accelerator in the world as well in Waterloo, in between the corridors. We have the #1 or the largest urban tech innovation hub, which is Mars Discovery District, and we have the largest in square meters IoT center, which is Catalysis 137 in Waterloo. So there are different, access to different innovation centers, accelerators, incubators, and talent, not just here in Ontario, but around the country. And they have been able to secure, mentorship from them, investment from the province, and sometimes investment from the federal government in terms of grants. They have been also able to hire local talent, which is very much appreciated in around the world, because we have amazing talent here from universities, recent graduates, people that are incredibly smart and that complement those companies very well in order to help them to grow.
Sure. Thanks. Very useful. Some very good points that you brought out, Mariam. The fact that different provinces, as well as the federal government, have programs to support startups, including funding and so on. So I think these are some very good takeaways for our participants here on this session. I'll also similarly request Sophie to let us know what does your organization particularly do to support startups, and then we'll go to some of the things that you may have been doing in India and other parts of the world to support startups, Sophie.
Sounds good. So, like what Miran mentioned in Toronto, in Ottawa, as the innovation capital, we are doing quite a lot, to help the startup and entrepreneurship and the development of innovation is always the same in the city. So at Invest Ottawa, we also run a downtown center called the Bayview Yard Innovation Center. So this center is very unique and is the largest in the National Capital Region, and we use that as the meeting space and incubation acceleration space for our local companies to continuously support the growth of the startups in the region, all the way from early stage to high growth stage. And also we work with all the PSIs in the region, the Carleton University of Ottawa, and Algonquin College and La Salle College. They all have their own innovation centers and applied research centers, which are key to the ecosystem to help us build a very strong startup, ecosystem for them to grow. On top of that, the National Capital Region, what's unique here, we are also the home of more than 65 national research institutes and national research labs. So that's something we offer as a unique value in the city for startups to benefit from. Because in other cities, they are either regional or city-based organizations, but we have quite a lot of national-based organizations. Like the biggest one is NRC. It's headquartered here with more than 10,000 scientists and engineers here. They offer very good support to work with the startup companies to commercialize the technologies from those leading technology institutes and national research labs. And they also get funding from all these organizations when they develop their products and services. So as you know, for startups, the biggest challenge when they start is mainly two things. They don't have the funding to help them. They don't have the resources, both on the human resources side and other resources such as R&D and all this, ecosystem support. And we offer all of them through all these connections in the National Capital Region. So that's really key for them to continue grow and thrive here in the National Capital Region. On top of that, Invest Ottawa is also taking extra steps to initiate new strategic areas. For example, I mentioned the area Export O. It's one of its kind in North America, and it's the only national center for connected autonomous vehicle testing in the true next generation 5G environment. So we took 1,800 acres of land in Alpha. Nowadays those land are not easy to get, especially in the city boundary. We offered 1,800 acres of land in a private environment, and we use that land to support all the startup companies and the leading technology development companies to develop next generation solutions for autonomous vehicles, connected vehicles, smart agriculture, precision agriculture, smart city solutions, and we also released that to the public roads already last year in September. There is a downtown core Port Furnace Pasture, which is a federal government campus, and the newly developed light rail station is right located there. So we are the first city in Canada launched public autonomous vehicle bus. That's the shuttle bus running between the light rail station and the federal government campus. And it has been running for a while since September last year. Even during pandemic and the COVID lockdown, nothing stops us from continuously providing all this support and services. So these are really exciting for startup companies in India to know. And I can share more later about how we support all the global companies, the startup companies coming to Alpha. Because Invest Alpha is also a designated organization to a startup visa program. So we work with all the startup companies coming here in the city to develop their Canadian office or their North American office. I hope that's helpful.
That's very helpful. Thank you, Sophie, for that. That's very impressive. Not only the fact that Ottawa has this history of technology innovation, but the fact that you're the nation's capital region, you're leveraging some of the national institutions like NRC, which are based out of Ottawa. And providing all the support. What is we of course know we mentioned Nortel at the beginning. There are so many great names that have come from the Ottawa region. Corel and the Sir Terry Walsh's suite of companies. So many of those blockbuster successes have come from Ottawa region. What is new and exciting? Who are the? I understand there was recently a new acquisition announced in Ottawa by Warner Brothers. Can you shed some light about that? And who else? What else is? What are some of the exciting examples that you could share with us?
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I'm happy to share that. Like you mentioned, the most recent one, which happened last week, it's a company called UITV. It was acquired by Warner Brothers, and it's actually more than $100 million deal. So that's actually very exciting for startups here, because UITV started in Ottawa with 10 people, like very small team. Now it's quickly scaling up, becoming one of the leading companies in the region, and now it's successfully got acquired. So that's not just the only one. We have a whole bunch of these good examples. Like Shopify is another one. Many people now, I think Shopify now has an office in India as well. It's the largest e-business company in Canada. But many people don't know that Shopify started in Ottawa as well as a startup, like 10 people in Ottawa, very small companies, trying to sell snowmobile, like the snow equipment, online. That's how they started, which is very Canadian, because that's our specialty for winter sports and everything. And then they started in Ottawa as a small team. They actually went down to Silicon Valley to raise capital, and then they realized, well, Ottawa has very good talent, and the engineers here in Ottawa cost less than what they would, do in Silicon Valley. Our salary for software engineers is probably almost 1/3 of what they would pay in Silicon Valley. On top of that, the competition is also fierce when they scale up from like 50 to 100 and going beyond 100 employees in Silicon Valley. They see the growth pains. So they made a big decision. They decided to come back to Ottawa. And since then, they quickly start from 100 people to 2,000 people in the last several years, and also became the largest IPO in Canada for the software companies category. So that's a very good success story to encourage global sharp companies to come here, because we have produced a success and continuously produce success like that. Other examples like Halogen Software, Connexis, they all get acquired by U.S. companies when they grow like to more than 200 employees. They all grow really well. And another homegrown company called QNX. People probably don't know the name, but if I talk about Mercedes-Benz, BMW, all these luxury cars like Porsche, QNX is the leading supplier of operating software operating system for the luxury cars in the connected and autonomous function. So it also started in Ottawa as a startup, very small one. And then it quickly became the tier one player in its space. Now it's actually a world-renowned company, and they recently received the funding from the government, the federal government, more than $100 million to run the National Center for R&D, focusing on autonomous vehicle, and it's headquartered here. Now it's part of BlackBerry. I forgot to mention that. Also, that's part of the proof of their success when they develop. I don't think I have enough time to talk about a lot of examples here in the short panel discussion here, but these are really the exciting things, stories to share with the audience.
Sure, thanks, Sophia. Let us quickly move on then to Sudhiranjan. Tell us about what our participants can expect from your great province, Sudhiranjan, especially with respect to India.
Okay, so a lot has been said, and let me just first say this, that all of Canada has a lot of the things that both Miriam and Sophie talked about. Great talent, a great innovation ecosystem, and there's great universities working on a number of things. So if I were to just kind of put it in a nutshell, I would say that you will get all of that in Alberta that you will get in some of the other provinces of Canada, but a little more. What is that little more? Of course, I've spoken about the Alberta Machine Intelligence Institute. I've spoken about the University of Alberta, the University of Calgary. There are lots of projects being done. The government, DeepMind, a Google company, has set up its first headquarter in Edmonton. And then, of course, there are great incubators like Tech Edmonton, Calgary Economic Development. So all of that is also happening in Alberta. Again, if you talk about autonomous vehicles, so I don't want to kind of repeat a lot of the things that have been said, but let me just focus on some of the little more aspect. Now, the first and the foremost important point that I would think about is the tax advantage. Alberta has a very, very distinct tax advantage because it's got one of the lowest corporate tax rates, the lowest personal income tax rate. It has no payroll tax and it has no sales tax, which means that if you're doing business in Alberta or if you're incorporated or registered in Alberta, your profits are going to be much higher as compared to what it is going to be in another province. That's number one. Number two, Alberta is also far, far, far more affordable as compared to some of the other provinces, let's say BC or even Ontario to some extent. The affordability or the cost of living in a city like Calgary, which is the best city to live in North America at this point in time, is far, far more affordable as compared to a Vancouver or a Toronto. And someone who's looking to move to Canada on a permanent basis, set up a business there, needs to understand the cost of affordability or the cost of living as well. So from that standpoint, again, I would say Alberta comes out on top. The third point I would like to refer to is the education levels of the people in Alberta. So if you're looking to find skilled manpower, that is where I would say Alberta scores again, because universities like the University of Alberta, the University of Calgary, Bow Valley, then there is other institutes like NATE and SATE, which are able to produce top class talent in the province. And whether you're working on energy, whether you're working on cybersecurity, whether you're working in agriculture, there is a research institute to back you up, and there is an institute to help you supply with the skilled manpower that you're looking to get. And finally, I would also say that there is a number of government incentives that are available to people who are setting up their business in Alberta. I mean, of course, there is the standard federal incentives that are available, but just to kind of give that a little bit of a push, the government of Alberta has now instituted something called the Invest Alberta Corporation. The Invest Alberta Corporation's mandate is very simple. We are trying to help Indian businesses come to Alberta and set up businesses in Alberta across a number of sectors. It doesn't matter which sector you are from, we are sector agnostic. What we are trying to do here is that we are trying to help Indian entrepreneurs find a conducive business environment in the Albertan market. How are we doing that? So we are literally kind of handholding them in terms of A, finding a market for their product, B, helping them with the incubators, C, helping them finding funds for their project, linking them and hooking them up with angel investors, with incubators, and so on and so forth. We are also helping them commercialize, and we are also helping them scale up. So that's one of the challenges that we have seen that a number of startups face. In the initial stages, of course, it's all easy, it's all good to go. But the challenge comes in when you really have to kind of scale up and start commercializing your technology for a market such as the US or probably Europe. So that's where the advice that people get from mentors, from people within Invest Alberta, or even people from within other agencies that are associated with us. I think that's really invaluable for people because they are getting advice from people who have done this and who know what the pitfalls or the hurdles can be. So I would say that those are really the four important points as to why someone should consider Alberta. Just to give you a bit of an example, I mean, we've been participating in other such events over the past couple of years. And every year, all the companies that have visited Alberta have not only shown promise, but quite a few of them have actually gone on to set up in Alberta. So I would say that, remember the fact that there is a huge tax advantage in Alberta. It is majorly affordable as compared to the other cities. It is great living standards, as because Calgary and Edmonton are some of the best cities to live in the world. And finally, you will get the talent that you're looking for, and it's going to be backed up by credible, serious research. And finally, it's a beautiful place. That's just like icing on the cake. So,
good. Thank you, thank you. That's a great pitch. I suspect people are already looking at their airline ticket portals, trying to see how soon they can get to Alberta, and of course that also speaks true of the Ottawa region and in Canada in general. There are a couple of questions here. Well, more than a couple, but a couple that we can pick up. I'll start with a question that Shruti has posed here in the chat window about what stage should startups come to Canada, and what is the traction sales ARR, and how much money should they budget, and so on. Of course, Shruti, this is going to be very different on a case-to-case basis, but in general, let us see if Miriam, who has helped firms like you, can provide some broad guidance as to when are you ready to go to Canada.
Sure. And yeah, that's a question that we get a lot. And let me tell you that I've been having the opportunity to actually live in different places in Canada, from Vancouver to Montreal to Toronto. So the cost of living in a city certainly is relevant for any international startup, but you have to balance somehow, the cost of living around, the resources that you can have for your startup. Again, if you are a startup in certain sector, you may like to move or live in certain areas in Canada. So don't take it that, one city has it all. I think there are cities that have some straits and some others that may have better resources than others, depending of the sector, technology sector that they are moving. So being said that, we have seen startups when they come, to Canada with less than $200,000 or around that amount, they struggle they struggle for the first year, because is the first year, I believe, in what we have seen, is the most difficult year when they are establishing, understanding, the structure, understanding the resources that they have. They have to spend a lot of money, not just in, where they live or what they are renting, but also in the operational part of the company. And, there are resources and grants around, but when you are not permanent resident of Canada, you cannot access necessary to those resources immediately. So while you are processing your permanent residence, you have a work permit, you have any other type of visa, that kind of limited, the access to those resources. Even for investors, and we are part of NACO, which is the National Angel Capital Organization, which is the largest investment angel network in Canada. Investors in Canada tend to be more conservative than investors in the US. Being said that, they need to see some traction locally, and when I say locally, it could be US, Canada, in order to invest in those companies. So I believe for companies that don't have enough funding, besides people can tell you otherwise, it will be challenging if you don't have at least $200,000, to start your year with some kind of funding. People can tell you 50,000, 20,000. People can come with crazy numbers because of where they live or what they can save. But seriously, we have startups located again in Vancouver. We have startups in Edmonton. We have startups in Montreal. We have startups in Ottawa. And everyone, their challenge is the first year. So I wouldn't risk to come with a company without to have that funding available around.
Sure. Thank you very much. And, as somebody has just noted in our chat window, that's a great practical advice. Let me ask, before we round up, if Sophie, you and Sudhiranjan if there is one piece of advice in the same direction that Mariam spoke about, that you want to leave behind with our participants. Sophie, what is that one thing that participants should do as they consider Ottawa region?
Well, Naram made a good point in her talk about the resources challenging for the startup companies, the foreign startup companies coming to Canada in the first year. So one thing I want to highlight on top of everything I talked so far, we actually offer a very special program called the Global Runway. It is a program that will offer all the foreign companies, including startup and the bigger ones, one-stop shop service package when they come to our city, which is very important because not many cities will offer this kind of in-house care. We do that. This package includes not only a landing space inside our own innovation center for global companies, but also offer all the support and the network they may need in their first year or the initial transition period, because they don't know anyone. Like Miran said, they have a working permit, so they may not access enough resources like the local companies. But in Ottawa, we don't have that difference. Even though it's not about funding, but the type of package we offer as a one-stop shop service will give them peace of mind and make them feel at home when they come to our city, and they will be offered a landing spot, a shared office space right away as a registered office address so that they can start run their business right away. We help from all the incorporation process, the the hiring process, if they need the accounting and tax consultant to discuss how they can benefit from the tax advantages here, if they need R&D resources, need the introduction to a local business network, they can actually be mingled right into the local ecosystem from day one when they are in our hands. So that's something I want to leave behind for the companies to know, because I think that's very unique package offered by Invest Alpha. And our organization, Invest Alpha, is actually the only organization in Canada that has both the startup function and also the foreign investment function under one roof. As the economic development agency, most of the other cities offer this through different organizations, but we have it under one roof from early stage all the way to global companies. Anything you may need can be addressed in one team in our team. So that's very helpful in terms of resources planning and introduction to the local ecosystem.
Sure. Thank you. Thanks again, Sophie. There are some people who have put down their interest in the chat window, and I would recommend that they get in touch with our three experts one-on-one, given the specific interest that you have, which are ranging from molecular biology to some agriculture technology and so on. So I'll leave that in the capable hands of our three panelists. But I do want to thank each one of them for taking the time and going into this detail. Obviously, this session is too short for what they actually can describe as in terms of bringing to the table for you. So I do encourage you to get in touch with Miriam, Sophie, and Sudhiranjan directly. Please take your interest forward.